We have now, I think he's on, Michael Healy from Unit. Love to introduce him. He may not need a big introduction, but he's going to be talking about the Unit token economy. And he's the co-founder of the Unit network and has been instrumental in building this network. He's powering and investing in two-sided token-driven marketplaces to create meaningful jobs and solving the inequity. He's self-taught full-stack web and mobile developer. He's developed successfully like Chartridge, which is an encrypted peer-to-peer video conferencing technology, Ratemash, which was UK's largest student social network, and Wikileaks on the Android app. And he's advised many startups around the world, Middle East, Africa, Europe, Asia, and Latin America. And he's a finalist of the Thiel Fellowship by Peter Thiel and awarded the silver medal in mathematics in the Olympiad. He served as entrepreneur in residence for top European venture capital firm Wellington Partners, with over 800 million under their management. And he's worked for Google, KPMG, and Saatchi, L'Oreal, Imperial College, London School of Business, and others. So we're happy, Michael, to have you here as a representative of Unit, and I'll turn the stage over to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Stefan, and everyone for being here. It's an honor to speak at the World Polkadot Forum. Really excited to do a session today on introducing everyone to the Unit network and a little bit about Substrate. So Substrate is what people use to build on Polkadot. And I've got two presentations prepared. One is on intro to Substrate, and another one is touching specifically on the Unit network. So to get started, I can start off with the Substrate presentation since it's very relevant to Polkadot. So a little bit about Unit. So Unit is a layer one blockchain. You can think of different blockchains like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot, Solana, Algorand. These are blockchains, and you've got different layers of them, right? So a layer one is something like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Unit. These are layer one chains which either provide their own security or their security is taken care of by a layer zero like Polkadot or Cosmos. So usually to build a blockchain, it's really difficult to secure it, to engineer it. One really cool thing about Polkadot and Substrate is it builds that security, that functionality. It provides a toolkit so that it's really easy to build blockchains. So what is Unit? We're one of the leading tokenization tools, for creating DAOs, for creating tokens. Our underlying mission is to solve the wealth inequity. So there's two groups of people in the world. There's the founders and investors, and there's the customers and employees. And all of the value in the world is largely accrued by the founders and investors. The customers and employees, they don't really get a piece of the pie. So we're excited to create this token economy where the founders and investors absolutely benefit. They make more, they earn more, but at least they share some of the ownership with the customers and employees. If you think of something like Uber, if Uber had, an $80 billion valuation, instead of the founders and investors owning everything, some of that value being held by the customers and employees. That's what we're excited for. A bit of background on myself, kind of introduction for Stefan earlier. I'm originally from Singapore, half British and Irish. I got into crypto in 2010. I built the Wikileaks Android app, helped with lead fundraising there. We're using Bitcoin. Started a social network with a few million users. Launched a coding school. Also helped introduce coding into the UK curriculum. Worked with one of the top venture capitalist firms in Europe. We invested in like Spotify. Worked for the Founders Forum, the leading conference network, and one of the co-founders of Unit. And a few of my co-founders are here today, and really excited to speak about it. So as mentioned, Bitcoin was blockchain 1.0. Allowed people to send, receive payments. It allowed people to hold value. And then Ethereum said, okay, hey, let's build more things than just a decentralized payment tool. Let's build decentralized news. Let's build decentralized social network. Let's build lots more applications. And then, Polkadot basically said, hey, instead of trying to build every single thing on this one blockchain, let's build the blockchain of blockchains. So the really cool thing about something like Polkadot is it allows you to build many different chains for very specific purposes. So the Unit network, we're a chain solely focused on the token economy. So taking a step back, what is a blockchain? A blockchain has many different parts. It's got a database, it's got a peer-to-peer network. You need to author blocks. So the point of a blockchain, it's storing data in many different blocks. You can think of blocks like pages on a book, or you think of it like effectively boxes where you're putting information and you're putting things in, and then you close the box. You can't touch that box anymore. You've got a new box. You've got a way by determining how to fork the network. You've got ways to handle transactions, and you've got the runtime, which is effectively how the network functions and chooses to operate. So these are components which all kinds of blockchains use, whether it's something like Ethereum or Bitcoin or Solana or Algorand, and Substrate and Polkadot basically makes it really easy to build a blockchain and decide, what should the runtime be, how do we handle the consensus mechanism, things like that. And then we can touch upon smart contracts. So smart contracts, they're effectively tiny pieces of code. Smart contracts on the blockchain were pioneered by Ethereum. They're effectively, they're less smart contracts, they're more dumb contracts. They're very simple. They're very expensive to operate. Usually, in the case of Ethereum, uses a lot of gas fees, or they can't do very much. But what they can do, it's very clear to the people. So if you think about something like WhatsApp, or something like Telegram or something like Facebook, if they were written with smart contracts, you'll need to think, what are the actions which I can do? In the case of something like Twitter, it could be posting status updates, changing your profile picture. It could be, editing your bio. It could be, adding a description, on a picture. All of these are effectively what's called functions. You add these to smart contracts, and when you put it up onto the blockchain, typically with blockchains in their current implementation, you can't really change it. It's kind of fixed there. It's locked up forever. Nobody can affect it. So it doesn't use servers, and this was a major innovation in blockchain tech, because people would write smart contracts. When you write smart contracts with Ethereum, you use a language called Solidity. When you write the smart contract, you post it onto the blockchain, and you've basically built an application which lives in the cloud, which operates beyond your control. And then there's this organization, Parity, and the Web3 Foundation. Parity is effectively an engineering studio based in Berlin. The Web3 Foundation is a foundation based in Switzerland, and they're largely responsible for Polkadot and Kusama's growth and development. Originally, Parity spun out of the Ethereum Foundation. They were initially working on helping people who were building on Ethereum to develop, and then they realized, hey, we're building all of these blockchains for people. Let's build a tool by which people can build blockchains more seamlessly and connected to one another. And the Web3 Foundation, they're very focused on developing Polkadot's growth and seeing how to grow a thriving ecosystem. So it brings us next to Polkadot, Substrate, and Kusama. So Polkadot, as mentioned, this is a layer 0. It's a blockchain of blockchains. Substrate is what you use to build a blockchain. And you can think of Kusama as something very similar to Polkadot. It's another layer 0 blockchain. It's effectively a copy. So if you're launching a blockchain and you want it to be secure, you want it to be connected up to other blockchains, you can use something like Polkadot, you can use something like Kusama. So what is Substrate? As mentioned before, it's an open source, modular, and extendable framework for building blockchains. So you've got all of these different tools. You can think about the consensus mechanism, you can think about storage, you can think about P2P networking. You've got different layers of it. You've got the database network, transaction queue, runtime models mentioned all before, and you can customize exactly what you want in the blockchain. There is a there is a concept of palettes. So you can see here, there's many different palettes. You've got an EVM palette, you've got a membership palette, you've got a grandpa palette, you've got balances, you've got an asset palette, and all of these different palettes are basically allowing you to choose exactly how you want your blockchain to be built into function. And based on which palettes you use, it basically gives you an opportunity to build the blockchain exactly how you want it. So, you could say, hey, I don't want to use Substrate, I want to build my own blockchain, but then you're effectively building all of these things from scratch. Or you could say, I'm going to use this palette and that palette, I'm going to use the democracy palette, I'm going to use, the staking palette. And then you've got all of these network protocol layer tools and frameworks, which you can just plug in and play into your blockchain. So what is Substrate? It's built using a language called Rust and WASM, WebAssembly. And these are super low level languages, which are really fast. It's really safe. It's, if you look at Ethereum, it uses a language called Golang, Go. And Rust is really effectively a better language because it's much more, as mentioned, they're reliable, performant, and productive. Ethereum was previously running on both Rust and Go, but then once Parity stopped working on Ethereum, they no longer managed the Rust client, and effectively now Ethereum is only running on Go. If you look at how many miners are managing the network, almost all of them use the Go client, and that means they're using the Go software, the Golang software, which is created by the Ethereum Foundation. One major benefit of Substrate is what's called a hard fork upgrade. So you can see here, or a forkless upgrade. So you can see here an issue with Bitcoin in 2010. There was an issue where someone could effectively create Bitcoin out of nowhere. They could affect someone's, they could influence how much Bitcoin a user has. That's a overflow bug, which is a serious bug. And they needed to do a hard fork, to fix that. You can see on the bottom left, in the case of a hard fork upgrade, you've got the old logic, and everybody's got to move to the new logic. Otherwise, they're running the old logic, which is no longer functional or useful. In the case of a forkless upgrade, the upgrade is processed on chain. So it's kind of more similar to how software development or internet development works, where when you make an upgrade onto, let's say if you run Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or Telegram, when you make an upgrade to the server, all of the clients, they get upgraded. But in the case of a hard fork, it's much more clunky. So, this is a feature that's provided by Substrate and Polkadot, where when you want to upgrade the network, you can push an upgrade, everybody votes on the upgrade, and the upgrade gets implemented. So it's much more seamless, it's much less cumbersome. There's a tool called Substrate Playground. This allows you to play around with different substrate palettes. You can create blockchains. It's allowing you to build a sandbox. So instead of installing all of the software, you can just use Substrate Playground. It just makes it really much easier to, as mentioned, skip the preliminary setup to get the parts most important to you. So you can really play around with it. There's something called node template. So this is a skeleton blockchain. So it's a template. It's like basically a piece of like a bunch of code, and you are able to play around with these 4 different palettes: the balances palette, the transaction payment palette, the pseudo palette, and the template palette. Here you can see what it looks like. It's showing you what the current block is, how many finalized blocks, and you can see the URL by which it's running. There's also a front end palette. So this is similar to the node template palette, but it's got a bit more of a front end. You can see the different key components, balances, block number, metadata, interactor, and it's using React.js, which is another front end language, and it shows you all of the front end code, all the UI, UX, which allows you to build with node template. Moving on, you can check out Substrate tutorials. This is a page which shows you a bunch of tutorials on building with Substrate. There's also a bunch of how-to guides on building with Substrate. I highly recommend going through some of these tutorials. They're really good. You can see here, create your first Substrate chain. There's one for node metrics, how to do forkless upgrades, developing smart contracts with Ink, and the crypto Substrate kitties. So this is using how to play around with ownership and NFTs. And it's all really, really good and clear, I think, and it's constantly being improved. So one major upgrade, Parachains are now live. So Parachains are effectively the children blockchains. So you can see here, there is the relay chain, that's the likes of Polkadot, Okasama, and then there's many Parachains. So something like Unit, something like Unique Network, which is spoken about earlier. These are all Parachains. Akala, Moonbeam. These are Parachains which have collators and validators, right? Going to be touching on that very shortly. And effectively, Parachains are their own layer 1 blockchains, which connect up to the parent relay chain. So it's quite a complex concept, the idea of layer 0, layer 1, but Parachains are effectively layer 1s, and relay chains are layer 0s. They take care of a lot of the consistent security side. Here you can see Akala. So Akala is, they call themselves the DeFi hub of Polkadot. They deal with a number of things like swapping between tokens, kind of like Uniswap or Pancakes or SushiSwap. They also have an AUSD token. This is their stable coin. They allow you to do liquid staking, which basically means that you can stake on Polkadot, but anytime you wanted to unstake, you can pay a 1% fee, and then you can unstake it. You can also receive your payments in AUSD, which is their stablecoin. State Mint, so this is the for good parachain that Polkadot has provided, and it provides a number of features and tools which are provided effectively for the good of the Polkadot network. They did not have to bid for a Polkadot chain. They were effectively given a parachain on the Polkadot network. Next is Cooperative Finance, is another parachain. Here you can see here, it's a chain focused on being EVM compatible. So EVM compatible, EVM stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine, and it wants to build effectively cross-chain functionality, supporting for multi-chain future. And you can see here on the right, many of the different chains it supports. So it supports BNB, Ethereum, DOT, HT, which is for Huobi, Kusama. And it's an example of another layer 1 blockchain, which is connecting the different chains together. You've got Moonbeam, which is another EVM Ethereum compatible chain where people write Ethereum decentralized applications, and then they're able to publish it on Moonbeam. Next is Parallel Finance, is another very much DeFi related layer 1 blockchain. You can see here some of the different projects that people have created, that they have created. They have applied for crowd loans. So crowd loans are how layer 1 blockchains or parachains win a parachain slot. So here you can see this Interlay, Equilibrium, Nodal, Light Entry, Fala, Darwinia. These are all parachains that have bid for becoming parachains. Many of them have won. Next one is Asta Network. They are another layer 1 blockchain, and they are focused on scaling to many different blockchains. So they want to be another DeFi sort of hub supporting languages like Ethereum, WebAssembly. Here you can see what it looks like on the right. Polkadot JS extension, this is super important. This is what you typically use to interact with Polkadot-based applications. As mentioned here, it's a browser extension. It does one thing, manages accounts, and you can sign transactions. You can see some of the different accounts here. You can, on the right is where you write in your password when you submit a transaction. Here's the Polkadot relay chain, and you can see one cool thing about the relay chain is potentially you've got relay chains of relay chains of relay chains of relay chains. So there are going to be many different relay chains moving forward. This is the similarity, the crossover between Substrate and Polkadot. Substrate has a significant amount more code than Polkadot. You can think of Polkadot as a much slimmed down version of Substrate. There's two different types of chains. There's a development chain, which is effectively what's running locally. And you've got a local testnet, which is running, say on your local server. And then a properly decentralized blockchain. This is where it's connected and syncing up to other blockchains and to relay chains. Mentioned before a language called Ink. So Ink is what you use to write smart contracts on Substrate. It's very similar to what Solidity is. So Solidity is the language for writing smart contracts on Ethereum. This is the language for writing smart contracts on Substrate. This is the unit network blockchain. So here you can see here some of the different digital assets that we support. One cool thing about unit is we are able to bridge a lot of these assets, the likes of BNB, the likes of Solana, the likes of Bitcoin onto the Polkadot network, onto the unit network, which is connected to Polkadot. And we think that the token economy, the idea that there'll be millions of coins this decade is going to be really exciting, where everybody is able to create a coin for themselves, they create a coin for their local business, they create a coin for community, and we end up with a worldwide wealth and equity to solve. That is our underlying mission. So please feel free to get in touch. My email is m@mihealy.com. My username is @Michael, and we are at Unit Network on Telegram. We're looking for speakers for our next Unit conferences. I have to say good job to our team here for pulling such an amazing show. Unit Ventures, we are launching our upcoming batch. This is a program by which we are supporting and incubating and accelerating tokens and DAOs. Also the Unit Masters program, which which is actually led by one of our co-founders, Anchor, who's here in the audience today. And yep, they've done an incredible job. What we'll focus on here is educating and teaching people about the token economy. So creating a world where, you know, blockchain literacy is much more apparent. People understand and appreciate the benefit of this amazing technology, and really benefit from the significant upside that the token economy has to offer. Does anyone have any questions or feedback of what was discussed? I'm also going to do a quick run through of some of the stuff that I spoke about, Polkadot Decoded. I've got about 9 minutes left. Does anyone have any feedback, please?
Thank you, Michael. We're looking forward to the next one. Go ahead.
Cool. All right, wonderful. So I'm just pulling it out. Give me a second, please. Cool. Right here. Thank you. I'm sharing my screen. So going to quickly run through this in the next 8 minutes. So as mentioned, you know, we are the Unit network. We're focused on creating this token economy, this blockchain future. We kind of see the evolution, as mentioned, having gone like this from Bitcoin to Ethereum to Polkadot, and we see Unit network as really the killer use case, as something that is so important for not just crypto but for the world, and we can really expedite and speed the level of blockchain adoption forward because of how important DAOs are. So, you know, traditional companies, everyone is typically connected to a central entity, an LLC, a GmbH, you know, a company. And the cool thing about DAOs is much more decentralized. The ownership is spread out. And we believe that when the ownership is spread out, not just amongst founders and investors, but customers and employees, you know, that is how we're going to solve the wealth inequity. If we solve the wealth inequity, you solve other issues, right? Climate change, you solve plastic, you solve, you know, people's health, people's mental health, people's, you know, physical health, gender equity, racial equity, like all kinds of stuff. So this is, you know, really the solution to DAOs and the token economy. So what makes Unit special? We've got three main things. The treasury, revolutionary. We don't just think tokens can be backed up by speculative value. We think they need to be backed up by underlying value. So, you know, if you look at a coin or a token, the top 15 coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, DOT, BNB, Sol, things like this, they don't need to be backed up by anything. But if I made a Michael coin, you know, you made your own personal coin, you need to be backed up by these 15 coins. So it removes the speculative value behind coins. You can see if a coin has nothing backing it up, that means the speculative value is 100%. There's no underlying value. So I'm going to talk about the treasury, maybe touch on a bit later. The vaults are really cool. Blockchains are kind of like highways at the moment, which don't connect. If you want to move a coin from one chain to another chain, you need to use an exchange, you know, typically a centralized exchange or a centralized bridge. That's like picking up a car with a crane and dropping it onto another, you know, highway, which is super clunky. It really should be connected. You should be able to drive from one highway to another highway and have it be super smooth. Unit provides a number of amazing tooling. So when people launch a DAO or a token, you know, it's generally quite expensive now. It's difficult, it's clunky, it's unsafe. We basically make it super easy. So we provide a number of tools. So all of these features, they're all in one platform called the Unit Network. We believe we are the most innovative decentralized exchange, DAO, and token builder. You know, you can see on the left is our treasury function. Every token you create has a treasury. This is how the vaults work. You basically add unit to a vault, and you're able to borrow against your unit. You're securing the wrapping and unwrapping for the network. This is how easy it is to create a token. You know, you just give it a name, an image, a plus supply and symbol. You've created a token. As simple as that. And every single token has a decentralized exchange. So one tricky thing about creating a coin or a token is getting it listed and traded and liquidity. So we basically make that really easy by providing an exchange for people to trade. How's this going to change the world? It's going to change every single industry, every single person, every single business, every single community. Here are a few examples of some of the different parts of the economy it's going to revolutionize, whether it's startups, real estate, artists and creators, governance, nonprofits. You know, all of these industries and aspects of society will be transformed through the token economy. So what's the state of Unit at the moment? We've got about 2,600 people who are our token holders and stakeholders. We've got 35,000 people in the network. We have 800 unique tokens and growing. We've got about 22 stablecoins, 37 city tokens, and 30 industries. So you can think of this as effectively our network behind Unit. You can think of you know, the stable tokens as things which are able to get a lot of the value and wealth in the world onto the unit network and the token economy. You can think of the city tokens and industry tokens as kind of like shared, funds or saving accounts where lots of people within a city and industry are able to, collaborate and work together towards this common goal of building a token economy within heavily densely populated cities like London, New York, Tokyo, New York City, San Francisco, Hong Kong, Singapore. All of these are our city tokens. And industries, things like fashion, movie, film, real estate, hotels, things like that. Here's our flywheel. So this is all comes under our marketing. So we've got conferences, masters, ventures. We've done a lot of conferences here. Excited to be part of the World Polkadot Forum. Great job to the team. Very grateful for your hard work. Unit Masters, we're on our 11th cohort, as mentioned. So this is trying to educate and get people up to scratch with the token economy. Our Unit Ventures program, this is our launch pad and our accelerator incubator. If you've heard of something called Y Combinator, this is really similar. It basically allows people to be best well-equipped to launch tokens and DAOs. These are the different blockchains that we support and that we're interoperable with. This is our ecosystem flywheel. So we kind of see tokens as operating on different levels. You've got the blue chips like Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of these above these blue chips. Unit needs to be backed by all of these blue chips, same with everything else. The stable tokens, the city industry agencies are responsible for helping support and catalyze tokens, and the millions and tens of millions of individual and business tokens that operate around the world. So effectively, Unit is the DAO of DAOs. We think that this decade there's going to be millions and tens of millions of DAOs, even billions, and Unit wants to help support all of these DAOs to succeed. We think there will be other DAOs of DAOs, but we really see ourselves as one of the first movers, and we're excited and inspired to for other people to create DAOs and to lead and thrive there. So please feel free to join our community. We're working hard on building up this global ecosystem. Here you can see some of the social media channels that we are active on. There's a link tree here. You'll be able to join there. We've got about 30,000 members in our community, which is quite significant for the blockchain sphere, but it's really small compared to how big the world is. And if you look at the internet, it doesn't have thousands of people. It's got millions and billions of people on it. So we're really such early days in this huge shift, and really looking forward to team up and participate and collaborate with everyone here, and an honor to be given the opportunity to speak today. So thank you very much, everyone. If anyone has any feedback or questions, I'm going to post my Twitter handle here, and also I'll post my Telegram. Please feel free to get in touch.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. That was awesome. Very good. Any questions from the audience? We have a couple more minutes. I have one question for you, Michael. If you're going to put it into just a simple, short phrase, what's the problem that Unit Network is trying to solve?
Good question, Stefan. So we want to solve the wealth inequity in the world. So we want to solve the fact that a small number of people have all of the wealth and resources, and majority of people in the world are just kind of getting by. That is the fundamental issue. And if we believe that if we solve this wealth inequity, if we're able to distribute wealth, not just amongst the founders and investors, but customers and employees, everyone's doesn't have to think about money as much. They've got lots of resources, financial and otherwise, then all of the other problems in the world will be solved.
Right. Cool. Thank you so much for your time, Michael. And I know it's precious, but we appreciate it very much, you being part of this World Polkadot Forum. Thank you for your insights and your motivational input. It's just been fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.